on later. Hi everyone, I'm Vol Norris. I'm the Northwest Regional Manager for Ag Force in Longreach. I'm going to be moderator for the webinar, but tonight is really a multi-agency cooperative effort. Ag Force is really just helping to convene the session. And I very much want to thank QRA, Queensland Reconstruction Authority, the DPI, Farm Industries Department, QRIDA, Rural Financial Counselling Service, Royal Flying Doctor Service, Department of Transport and Main Roads, and all the local governments in the region for the incredible effort. Everyone's been working so hard in the response and recovery effort. It's been amazing. So thank you all very much. There's a lot of people online. I'm just going to get that slide out of the way. I'll stop sharing. I've got 105 registered. I think there's about 60 or 70 online. So it's quite a lot of people. Can I get you to leave yourselves on mute unless you're asking a question? It's wonderful to see you all online. We didn't give you much notice for the event, our apologies, but we wanted to get this session run before the Easter break. There's a number of other Ag Force staff online. I won't go through them all, but I do just want to mention quickly Michael Gurin, our CEO, who I think is online now. Kerry Cribb, our Southwest Regional Manager, my colleague in Charleville. She's sitting at home at Murrah Downs at the moment. And Michael Allpass, our General Manager of Policy in Brisbane. Thank you all for joining. And to our presenters, thank you all very much for your time and effort. It's really appreciated. I'll just quickly run through the presenters before we start so you'll know who's coming. Stuart Mackenzie, State Recovery Coordinator for this flood event. Thank you, Stuart, for your time. Graeme Bolton, Director General of DPI, Farm Industries Department. Thanks, Graeme, for being here. And we've also got Nicole Peters online from DPI. Nicole is Director of Climate Policy for Agriculture in the department. Sheree Finney from QRIDA. Sheree's Manager of Disasters and Drought for QRIDA. Thanks, Sheree, for your time. Angie Bowden, Senior Rural Financial Counsellor from RFCS, Southern Queensland. Thanks, Angie, for joining. And I think we've also got Emma Ross online from Rural Financial Counselling Service, North Queensland. Tim Driscoll, Dr. Tim, Mental Health Clinician from RFDS. Thanks, Tim, for joining. And Tim also manages the RFDS Mental Health Service, State Manager for the Mental Health Service. And from Department of Transport and Main Roads, we've got Gavin Hill, District Director from Central West. Thanks, Gavin, for joining. And Bill Lansbury, who's General Manager of Statewide Road Recovery. So thanks, Gavin and Bill. And from local government, finally, Tony Rayner, I think Tony is online now, Mayor of Longreach and also Chair of Central West RAPAD, and Suzette Beresford, Mayor of Paru, and Suzette's also Chair of the Roads Group in Southwest Queensland ROC, Regional Organisation of Councils. Thanks, Tony and Suzette. So thank you all for joining. I believe that many, if not most, of the other Southwest and Central West mayors are also online. So for those who've been able to join us, thank you very much for your time and effort tonight and for the efforts over the last 3 weeks. It's been incredible. So we're recording the webinar and we'll make the recording available to everybody afterwards on our YouTube channel. If you could just keep yourselves on mute, unless we're talking about questions and you're asking a question and we're answering it, that would be great. The mute button is somewhere in the margin of your screen. Mine's in the top right. We will be pausing for question and answer sessions later in the webinar. Please feel free to type any questions into the chat thread at any time and we'll come to your question when we stop. The chat button is also somewhere on the margin of your screen at the top on my screen. Or during the Q&A, just click on the raise your hand button at the top of your screen and we'll see you in the list. And don't forget to unmute yourself when you want to ask a question. Or if screen buttons and typing in the chat aren't your thing, that's also completely fine. When we come to the Q&A, just wave your hand wildly and somebody will see you and will draw attention to it. I think that's all the housekeeping. So without any more ado, I'm going to hand over to Stuart Mackenzie, who's going to give us a quick introduction. Stuart's the State Recovery Coordinator for this flood event. Thank you, Stuart, and over to you.
Thanks, Vol. I hope everyone can hear me there okay. Yeah, as Vol said, I was asked by the Premier to take on this role as the State Recovery Coordinator. For those who don't know, I spent many years in local government, 12 as a Quilpie Mayor, and I'm still on the property, still a grazier, and we were affected by this recent event. So certainly have that first-hand experience. 2010 was probably worse for us than this one. We're not as bad as a lot of people this time, only because we're not actually on a floodplain of the major rivers. We're out of that, but yeah, still a lot of damage. But look, my role really is to oversee all the processes that are happening. And as Val said, I sort of came on board in the middle of the fodder drops, and there were odd issues there, but the logistics of getting that amount of hay and feed out and the fuel to the choppers to keep them going, and a lot of the roads were actually cut, I think was quite extraordinary, and full marks to DPI and QRA and all those people on the ground, the chopper pilots. I just can't say enough about them, because we've got a lot more on the ground now flying around than we did the last floods, and they've just been worth their weight in gold. First to find out what was happening out in the rivers, but also to get that feed out when it happens. So, but yeah, look, the number of packages, support packages, have already been announced, and they're there on the QRA website or the QRIDA. Most of them going through QRIDA, and the details of them. It's still a work in progress. We have the large exclusion fence package. We're still working on the logistics and the guidelines to that, and we're doing as trying to get that out as soon as we can. Had a meeting with Jake Elwood, so I answer to Jake Elwood, the boss of QRA, Queensland Reconstruction Authority, and I'm basically his person on the ground out in here in the west. Yeah, talking to Jake today, just make it clear on that exclusion fence. It is for exclusion fence. It's not for all fencing. It's not for internal fencing, normal fencing, and that's covered under the $75,000 grant through QRIDA. Yeah, long way to go, obviously, and I'm sort of getting out as much as we can. The towns that got flooded obviously got a long road in front of them. Especially difficult for Junda and Thargomindah, where the council resides in those towns, and yeah, they've got to get their council operating. The council chambers are flooded, the staff's houses are flooded. They've got to get them all going again so the council can operate and start looking after their shire. So that's certainly been a priority. But in some places in Quilpie, we're already seeing graders getting out, doing emergent work, getting roads open. That's obviously a huge urgency on that. But yeah, that's my role, and I'll suppose when things aren't working as they should, this is what the Premier told me. That's my role to try and make sure that they do run smoothly. So by and large now, the agencies involved have, I think, have done a terrific job. So thanks, sir. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks very much, Stuart, for coming on and for that introduction, and thanks also for all your efforts in the last few weeks and what's to come as well. It's going to be a long, hard road. There's still water coming down the system from our end up here, so really appreciate all the effort. Thank you, Stuart. I'm going to go to Graeme Bolton now, Director General of the DPI. Graeme's agreed to come on and say a few words and introduce the joint federal government, Queensland government fencing package, $100 million. Graeme, are you there?
Yeah, thank you, Vol, and thank you for the opportunity to come along and speak with your members tonight. I just want to start by saying to you all right now that there is no bigger priority for our department, and certainly the broader part of government, than what's happening out at Western Queensland right now, and getting you back on your feet as soon as possible is our singular biggest priority. It has been a really unprecedented start to the year. The floods in the southwest was the third major disaster in as many months, and certainly the scale, impact and complexities of each of these individual events has really rocked the state and also challenged our ability to respond and our resilience. You're probably already well across this, but I just thought I'd try and give a bit of perspective about just how big an event your flooding in the southwest was. We're talking about an area twice the size of Victoria that was affected by the floods. 9 local government areas with major flooding in the Coopers, Thompson, Barcoo, Booloo, Paru and Warrego rivers. Many of those, as you're well aware, and some of you personally well aware, were greater than the 1974 floods. I would also like to acknowledge and thank the incredible efforts of everyone that's been involved in this response. It's been just phenomenal. The LDMGs, the QRA, our staff, the many volunteers, and even just the people on the ground pitching in and doing as much as they can. It's just been an amazing thing to be part of, notwithstanding the devastation and the heartbreak that has been surrounding it. Speaking of heartbreak, our hearts very much go out to the 1,300 odd primary producers that are in those impacted local government areas, and we're absolutely working around the clock to help you get back on your feet. That region, your region, is really important for the state. Just so that you're a little bit more aware, it's worth about $126 million per year to the state's productivity. So it's a very sizable part of our primary producers. There's more than 1 million cattle, about 880,000 sheep and about 200,000 goats within the region. And so we know this particular event is going to have a fairly significant impact on all of you. Can I urge that you all, and urge your colleagues and friends and family to complete the disaster impact surveys. These surveys are really critical so that it helps inform us about where the help is needed, the funding assistance that's required. If you're not too sure where to find it, you can search it and go to our website, which is www.daf.qrd.gov.au, or give our call centre a call on 13 25 23, and they can help you fill that in. No need to write any of this down. We will be providing some written information to Vol, and he'll circulate that to you all out of session as well. In terms of the disaster impact surveys, we have already received over 150 surveys, which is fantastic, but we'd like many, many more. Devastatingly, we've had more than 180,000 livestock being reported as either missing or deceased. So we're already seeing fairly large numbers. Producers have also reported damage to around 6,500 kilometres of fencing and over 9,500 kilometres of private roads. Fodder has been a really big issue, and certainly we identified that early on, the need to get hay and fodder out to primary producers as fast as possible. And the team worked really hard, and we had hay being delivered into Quilpie, Charleville and Blackall within 3 days, and had hay in the air being slung the following day. So we have delivered well over 1,000 bales of hay to the region, and we're continuing to work with the local disaster management groups, your LDMGs, to ensure that that coordination and delivery of fodder continues. If you need any fodder, please contact your local LDMG. If you're not getting any luck there, please contact our call centre again on 13 25 23, and we'll help you get that fodder. I am aware that there has been a number of third-party offers to bring fodder in from other parts of the state, and you're absolutely able to do that. My only request is just make sure you're asking the right questions to ensure that the hay or fodder you're getting is certified and free of invasive issues like weeds, seeds, pests, including fire ants. Very much aware that we've had some really great work, philanthropic work done by some people within southeast Queensland wanting to get hay out there. Absolutely, you can get hay from within the fire ant exclusion zone. Our preference is that there's plenty of hay outside of that zone. So if possible, don't get it from in there. But if you do want to get in there, that's absolutely okay. Can you just give our fire ant program a call? We'll get someone out to inspect that hay free of charge. We're very responsive. Get it certified that it's free of fire ants and help you get underway. That number, if you want to contact the fire ant program, is 132 ANT, which is 132268. We're also very much aware around the impact on our stock. So if you're finding any lost livestock, please report this to your local council. Alternatively, it may have an NLIS tag, and we can also assist there if you call our call centre. The animals may also be brands, and you can do a search on the brands database, which might help identify the owner. If you're not too sure, just contact your local council or pound, and they'll help provide some advice about what to do with that. Please make sure you're also being very much aware about your own personal health and safety during the cleanup and even handling livestock or distressed animals. We have people on the ground at the moment helping with the correct disposal of dead animals. And again, if you need any help with that, you can either contact your local council or call our call centre again on 13 25 23. Before you do any interactions with dead animals, whether livestock or wild or whatever, please make sure you look after your health and safety first. This type of disaster, even just cleaning up around the property or around your homes, can lead to things such as skin infections, diarrhea, respiratory infections. But there's also more serious diseases out there, particularly with regards to some of those dead livestock. It's less common, but potentially really serious. Other diseases like Q fever, leptospirosis, and melioidosis. We've already seen a number of deaths in the far north from melioidosis as people have been getting out and cleaning up within the community. People will be very much turning their mind to around where to from here, particularly around a financial recovery. There is a range of financial recovery programs available to primary producers within the affected local government areas. We have disaster assistance loans of up to $250,000 to help re-establish operations and cover the cost of repairing, replacing damaged plant, equipment and buildings, or resupplying your livestock. We have essential working capital loans of up to $100,000 to help continue business operations, which includes paying salaries, wages, creditors, rents or rates. We have exceptional disaster recovery assistance grants of up to $75,000 to help with the hire or purchase of equipment and materials, the clean-up and removal of debris, replacing that internal fencing that was spoken about before, and other costs associated with the recovery process. There are freight subsidies up to $5,000 to help with the movement of stock, feed, machinery, fuel, water, building and other fencing materials. There's also a community relief fund available to impacted councils to undertake essential immediate recovery activities. These include the removal of flood-related waste, debris from properties, the removal of livestock carcasses and transportation costs. Funding is available up to $1 million per local government area. This funding is provided jointly through the Commonwealth and state disaster recovery funding arrangements. So I want a big thank and shout out to our Commonwealth partners and particularly NEMA for their assistance through this. As Stuart mentioned, we do also have a $105 million exclusion fence restitution program to help with the rebuilding of damaged or destroyed exclusion fencing. It has to be exclusion fencing. My department, the Department of Primary Industries, is working very closely with the Queensland Reconstruction Authority and a number of regional organisations to make sure that we're looking at place-based, locally led guidelines and delivery for this program. In terms of types of activities that this program will fund, includes fencing materials for repair or replace exclusion fencings. This includes wire, panels, posts, stays, animal deterrent infrastructure and floodgates. It also includes wages for contractors for the erecting and repairs of exclusion fencing, wages for new employees who engaged fully on these repairs, and the hire of any machinery and equipment for those repairs as well, along with fuel and the transport of materials. We're still working on the guidelines and we're working with a task force that we have stood up, and the focus of the task force is to really tailor it so that it's locally led, locally delivered, and it's having the biggest impact. And our absolute number one priority is to secure the outside perimeter of the exclusion fencing and then work our way in on those other boundaries where it's appropriate. It's really important that you keep your records and receipts for any of these claims just to make your applications through QRIDA much easier. Probably wondering how to apply for the assistance. You can call QRIDA on 1800 623 946 or visit their website at www.qrida.qld.gov.au. For freight subsidies, you can call DPI on 13 25 23, or again, you can go to our website at www.daf.qld.gov.au. If you need any assistance, help to apply for financial assistance, the Rural Financial Counselling Service is available, and their phone number is 07 4622 5500. We really understand that this is a difficult time for everyone within the communities, but particularly for your the primary producers and even your ringers and your staff. Help is available, and we're working very closely with the Department of Health to ensure that we've got counselling and other mental health services available on the ground for you. In addition to that, there are other services available 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, including Lifeline on 13, 11, 14, or 13 Yarn if you wish to talk to or talk with an Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander crisis supporter. If you are suffering, please don't do it alone. Reach out to someone and ask support. If you're not too sure who to talk to, contact us on our call centre, talk to your local DPI person. We will get support for you, but please don't suffer in silence. So that's it in terms of the broad information to give you tonight. Happy to take questions. And the last message I want to leave with you is, as Stuart and Vol has mentioned, this is going to be a marathon in terms of recovering from this particular event. We are here with you every step of the way, and we'll make sure that we're there. If you feel like you're not being met, your needs or requirements aren't being met, please contact us. Let us know. I will make sure that we get help to you. You can email or contact me direct if you have any concerns. More than happy to help. Thank you, Vol.
Thank you, Graeme, for that. Thank you. A huge thank you to your department and to you personally for all the effort that's been going into this recovery. And I see Fleur Anderson has just posted. Thank you, Fleur. Welcome to the webinar. Fleur's posted the link for the disaster impact survey while you were speaking then, Graeme. And after the webinar, we'll circulate to everybody who's registered email with these links in them and a link to the recording for the webinar so you can watch again if you want. As a quick question, I might just deal with these questions as they float up. Is there any flood assistance available for the wild dog barrier fence, given the amount of damage done to it and it's the backbone for a number of exclusion fence areas? Is it possible to deal with that one, Graeme, on the run?
Absolutely, certainly can. So we are very much aware of the critical role that plays, and we're working very closely with QRA and NEMA to look at what that package might look like. We're still working through that, but it's certainly not something that has been forgotten.
Great. Thank you, Graeme. Once again, thanks for the time and your information. I think it's now time to go to Sheree. Finney. Sheree, as I mentioned before, is Manager of Disasters and Drought for QRIDA. Sheree's got some slides to share, I believe, and she's going to take us through some of the practicalities of the applications that Graeme mentioned. Sheree, are you there? Can you share your screen?
I sure can. Can everyone see that okay? Give me a thumbs up.
Yep, we can see that. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Thanks so much for having me, everybody. I'm just going to run through really quickly the slideshow that I've got here, and then I've got an opportunity to take some questions as well. So Vol will help me through that. Just going to... Hopefully this works. There we go. So a little bit about QRIDA, nothing big. We've been around for over 30 years, so we're not new guys to this. We're a state authority within the government, and we're proudly the specialist provider of government financial assistance and advisory support out there in rural and regional Queensland. We administer, in this space, the financial assistance as part of that disaster recovery funding arrangement that Graeme Bolton was having a chat about earlier. So I'm going to start with the big one, the Exceptional Disaster Assistance Recovery Grants. So this is for all of those directly impacted primary production businesses out in the regions, out of the 9 local government areas that were mentioned. The maximum grant is up to $75,000. Now, there's I guess 2 layers to this. Right now, before anyone goes out and spends any money, because you can't get contractors or you can't even get out to see the full extent of what you need, an initial amount of up to $5,000 is available on the first claim. What you need is evidence of the direct damage, so some photographs. We accept, we don't need a huge amount, somewhere between 5 and 10 photos to show some of the damage, and then a verified estimate of what the damage looks like. So you can have quotes, you can have tax invoices of what you had already to show what was damaged, or you can have, some verified estimates, which can just be screenshots, or it can be, details of what you already had there. Then once you've received that $5,000, and it doesn't need to be done like this, you can wait a little bit of time and come and do the whole 75 all in one, one foul swoop, or you can do it in little stages, depending on what your cash flow looks like. And it also depends on, you might not, you might be waiting for a little bit get out to do, your proper checks, and then, the $5,000 covers it for a little bit. Then you come in and you can do it in staged amounts, $1,000 at a time or the whole amount. It doesn't really matter. But the grant is actually open until the 2nd of April next year. So there's plenty of time to get in to get this one. So eligible activities, which is probably the one that everybody wants to have a quick chat about. I'll go through these, and I might just touch on a couple. Some of them are really self-explanatory. So hiring equipment and materials to undertake the cleanup. So if you have to have, you hire a, excuse me, that's my puppy dog in the background. I apologise. Hiring equipment and materials to undertake a cleanup. So that could be a dozer, that could be, gosh, even as something as, getting a skip. It could be anything that could be, to do that. Additional labour costs. So anything above and beyond those normal wage expenditures, such as like, your everyday day-to-day staff. If you have to get extra people to come in, I know that there's been chats about maybe having some backpackers come in and do some specific cleanup work. Keep job cards and even spreadsheets of what's going on your, in that cleanup facility, and then those kind of costs will be covered. To dispose any damaged goods or injured and dead livestock. So any of the costs that are involved in that can be an eligible, an eligible activity under this. Repairs to buildings other than, the residents or the housing that's on the farm. Fencing. So I've said there that fencing that is not covered by any other assistance. The big hint and tip for this one is because that extra, the exclusion fencing or the pest fencing, that is coming. We know that it's not out there yet, but it is coming. Perhaps the internal fencing is probably the best one to go through this one, like what the conversation that they were having with, I think Jake Elwood was mentioned before out there with Stuart, that if something comes through with the exclusion fencing, of course, we're not going to say no, but we are going to suggest to people to wait until that other one comes along. Repairing essential plant and equipment, which of course that makes sense. If it's been damaged as a result of the floodwater, it needs repairing. Let's get it done. Salvaging crops, grains and feeds. It's probably something that's not quite as relevant in this particular disaster, but I mean, I know that there are a couple of people from North as well on this one, so that might be far more relevant for those guys. The hire and lease costs for equipment that's essential to the immediate resumption of the business. That's exactly the same as the top one up there, and that doesn't cover the purchasing of a new machinery. Equipment isn't the same as machinery. Equipment is things like, maybe just smaller things. So maybe like a chainsaw or a wheelbarrow or things that might be required for that. So if you require any tradespeople to come on, conduct some safety inspections, I know that sparkies may be required, even in the case of sometimes an engineer's report might be required. Those sorts of things are an eligible activity. And essential repairs to premises and internal fittings that aren't covered by insurance. Of course, this isn't a comprehensive list of everything that can be done, but it's a pretty good one. The one that is often forgotten, and it's not written up there, and I was remiss to put it on there, but your insurance excesses are actually an eligible activity. So if you find that you've got, a $5,000 excess as part of your insurance, pop that through to us, and the excess is an eligible activity. So I'm going to quickly touch on these ones. This is the disaster assistance loan. Now, this is important not just for the primary producers, but also, your friends in town, the small businesses and the not-for-profit organisations that I know that a lot of people, are part of as well. So primary producers and small businesses that were directly affected can get disaster assistance loans up to $250,000. Now, it can cover anything that was on, anything that is available to be, eligible under the grant, but sometimes $75,000 doesn't cover it. There's also an ability to do some resilience work in this disaster loan, and the things that may not be covered in the exceptional disaster assistance recovery grant could be eligible under the loan. The other thing with this is those everyday costs that Graeme Bolton did mention, staff, just paying your everyday wages, your rates, your electricity bill, everything that comes along with running a business, those, you know, the working capital costs that come along with that. This and the next one is for not-for-profit organisations, exactly the same, but it's only up to $100,000 for those organisations that I know that a lot of people in the community are a part of. So it's always good to mention. The next one I'm going to mention here is the Disaster Assistance Essential Working Capital Loan. Now, these are for the indirectly affected primary producers. So those primary producers that didn't have, I know that there's not many in the regions, but there are a few in those, you know, the outlying LGAs that maybe couldn't conduct their business because road closures, or they had power outages, or things like that, that really affected their cash flow and their ability to work. So they may be eligible for essential working capital loans. And obviously they have nothing to replace or restore. So this is just for that working capital stuff, the paying of the salaries or the creditors, fuel, all of those things that come along with that. Now, all of those loans that I've just mentioned, applications are accepted until the 31st of December 2026. And the interest rate for all of that disaster lending is only 2.14%. So this here is a little map of your region that was affected. We've got 3 regional area managers that take care of your area. We've got Terry Pulsford in the southern section there, Marinara in the southwest. We've got Bradley Whittington in the Central Highlands in the west. And then we've got Sam Fryer, who looks after the north. And Sam's region only had Winton that was, he's the bottom part of that. But Terry and Bradley are the ones that probably are the most involved in this disaster. This here, I just added this one in late this afternoon after having a chat with Vol, and thanks for the hint, Vol. This is a screenshot of the lower half of the disaster recovery page for this event. Now, over in this section, now I'm not sure if you can see it, if you can see my mouse circling these parts here. You can apply now. Now, of course, you can download the application and fill it in manually, or you can apply on the portal. But these sections here, there's an application tip. So it runs through, and visually, it runs through what's a good photo, what's a not a good photo, what a tax invoice should include, what your proof of payment looks like, all of those things, and it's visually represented in that format. So that's a really handy one to have beside you if you're struggling to to apply. The next one down is a guideline interpretation guide. Now this has got, it's not just the FAQs, it's some of the really, really frequently asked questions, and they're answered in real speak with a little bit of a hint and a tip in there. So there's a lot of them. There's, you know, it's not really, you know, every frequently asked question we get, but they're the really, really frequently asked ones. Really, really helpful, really, really no nonsense, and in really good language that everyone can understand. And then, of course, the big important one is those guidelines, but it does break it down, and it is in, you know, relatively easy to understand. And thanks for the hint, Vol, and letting everybody know that that's on that webpage. Then lastly, of course, and I know that Graeme said it before, but look, don't self-assess. Give us a call. We've got a team that actually, you know, can help you, and they can answer questions that people might think they're silly, but chances are if you want it answered and you don't understand, somebody else does as well. So just ring us, 1-800-623-946, ask for the disaster team, and you'll be thrown through to the team that knows really, really, really confidently and really well the guidelines. QRIDA.qld.gov.au. Really helpful source. There's so much information on there for you. If you want to get in contact with any of the regional area managers that were on the 2 screens before, we've got Sam, we've got Terry, and we've got Bradley. Just call the 1-800 number and ask to be put through to your regional area manager. Even if you tell the people that answer the phone that just your postcode, they can put you through to the correct one. So there's no stress, there's no dial 1-4, you just get a person when you call this number, and we're really proud of the team that looks after it. That's me. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Sheree. Great presentation. Thank you for your time and effort, and for coming on tonight to share that with us. We really appreciate it. There's a few questions in the chat, and I might come to those, but Graeme, I can see your hand up.
Yeah, thank you very much, Val. I just thought I might clarify something before. Just around the $105 million exclusion fencing program, that won't be delivered directly through QRIDA. We're currently working through the fencing task force. But once we get that resolved, again, like I said before earlier, we are looking to get that delivered locally through the Western Queensland parts, not through the department, but we are looking at how we actually get that locally led. When we have that landed, we'll certainly get more information out to all your members and on our website, on QRIDA's website, hopefully, but also through AgForce. I just wanted to make sure that people were clear. That's probably why you wouldn't have seen that through Sheree's amazing presentation. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Sheree.
Brilliant. Thank you, Graeme. And that announcement of the joint 105 million for fencing was incredibly welcome in the community. It's already, the point's been made to me by a number of people that just hearing that announcement did a lot for people's ability to cope with what's coming. So that's very welcome. I'll come to some other questions shortly, but Stuart, I can see your hand up.
Yeah, look, a really good question there. And Graeme, give me some help here, but as far as about people want to get those exclusion fences up ASAP, we've already stood up some at home. So however the funding will be rolled out, it's generally on cost incurred. So I assume that's going to happen. So if you're doing work now, you're incurring costs. As long as you keep a record, photos, all of that, then I'm sure that yes, it will be can be claimed retrospectively. Is that a fair comment, Graeme?
Yeah, that's correct. Absolutely, Stuart. And again, we're looking to try and make this as effective as possible and as efficient as possible. And any activity that is effective from 5th of April onwards. Keep your receipts, photos, all your evidence, as Stuart just mentioned, and yeah, we'll give further information about how you can get that reimbursement.
Great. Thank you, Graeme and Stuart, for clarifying that. And that, I guess, Andy Pegler, that answers your question. Can we claim retrospectively for those exclusion fencing repair? It sounds like yes. And Bill, I can see your Queensland traffic link in the chat. Thank you for that. There's a couple of other questions. We might just pause. A lot of information from Graeme and Sheree and Stuart. So I'm sure there's lots of questions about those. So think about your questions and click on the hand up button if you've got them, and we'll come to these chat questions. But just to reassure you that everything that Graeme went through and that Sheree went through, the links, the numbers, the contacts, we will include that in an email after the webinar. So you don't need to write it all down or remember it right now. Now I'll just go to Pauline's first question. If you are using your own machinery to repair dams and not contractors, can you use the $75,000 grant towards fuel or your own machinery hours? Sheree, is that for you?
That is for me, sure. So thanks, Pauline. You can use the $75,000 grant towards your fuel. Absolutely. And if you're popping somebody else that doesn't normally work on your property, like the normal day-to-day workers, like you've got somebody in extra to do that, possibly their labour might be able to come into it. So yes, your fuel can.
Great. Thank you, Sheree. And another really great question from Pauline. Are the grants per property pick or is it per business entity?
So that's a little bit of a difficult question to answer because it can be case by case. It's not by property pick. It can be by per entity. It can be even if you've got separate eligible businesses under the one ABN, you possibly still can apply for more than one. There are a couple of rules. It depends on distance. It depends on, making sure that they are different business entities. It's not just the one business entity on two different properties. There's a couple of little things about that. I would strongly recommend people to apply regardless, but give us a call first and we can talk you through that because it is, I say it all the time. We work on a case-by-case basis. We don't say yes to everybody. We don't say no to everybody, but we always try to say yes. That's where we start at. So just give us a call and we can work you through it.
Thank you, Sheree, for that. I hope that answers your question, Pauline. Sheree, just on that one, is there an expression of what you just said somewhere in the grants, or is it just a general principle? Just apply and for what you think you need and take it from there.
Yeah, strongly say don't self-assess. I say it all the time and I sound like a broken record, but I do often say that go for gold, try for it. And if you come out a medalist rather than a gold medalist, you're still winning. You can only ever get, you know, we always say no to the ones that don't put it in. So please just put it in. Don't self-assess, call us. And there is a little bit of information on those separate eligible businesses, but it is something that we probably need to talk to you more about than we can put on, you know, in those frequently asked questions, because it is very, very, it's very personal and it's very case by case.
Okay, thank you, Sheree. And when you say don't self-assess, by that you mean don't rule yourself out because you assume you're not eligible. You can self-assess on the positive, on the other end of the spectrum, but please do
we'd rather that.
You deserve it. Yeah.
That's right. It's our job to assess, not your job to say no to yourself. So come, you know, always put it in.
Great, thank you, Sheree. And there's a last question here in the chat from B. Could you please confirm the 75K grant cannot be used to replace lost livestock?
B, I can't confirm that because it can be used to replace lost stock. Livestock is absolutely eligible.
That's a short, quick, easy, clear answer to that one. Thank you, B, for the question. I'm not seeing any other hands up. I'm just looking through the list now, or I'm not seeing any hands waving on video screens either. So unless there are further questions at this point, we might keep going. Sheree, thank you for that overview and for the clear answers. And once again, we'll include that stuff in the post-webinar email. I'm now going to go to Angie Bowden. Angie is Senior Rural Financial Counsellor with the Rural Financial Counselling Service, Southern Queensland. Angie's going to give us a quick overview on the help you might be able to get access to in the coming weeks. Angie, are you there?
Thanks, Paul. So getting help with your applications. So I am a rural financial counsellor that covers Western Queensland. And also online tonight is my colleague Emma Cook, who covers Western Queensland as well as a rural financial counsellor. So the Rural Financial Counselling Service is a free, confidential and impartial service which is funded by the Australian Government and supported by the Queensland Government as well. For those who have been impacted either directly or indirectly from the flooding, the RFCS support is available to you in the short term, and we can provide that assistance for up to 3 years while your business is in recovery phase. So I've spoken to a number of producers across the region over the recent weeks and heard a lot of stories of what's happened, and many are just incomprehensible. So I'm really really keen to get out and help people, and to Emma is as well. So we know there's a lot of administrative work to do now, and there's also like an immense amount of physical work for you to do. We understand that. So at these times it can be difficult to know, which road to navigate through, and there is a lot of information out there at the moment. So part of the role of the RFCS following a disaster is to provide information about the grants and the support programs and the assistance that's available, and help you sort of producers gain some clarity about it and work through what's available to you. And it's all dependent on your situation, your business, and the impact that you've had. So we can do that, and we can assist you also to prepare documents for your banks and lenders, support you in talking to them about loan deferrals, restructuring, working capital needs for the right now, or recovery budgeting and cash flows. So we've had discussions already with a lot of the banks at a higher level, and they're on board and willing to support, and I hope that continues. So we can support with knowledge of the requirements and what you will need to apply for the programs. And then we can also actually assist you to apply for the programs, as well as much support as you need. Like Sheree, I urge everyone, please do not let the paperwork discourage you. Seek the support that's there for you. just don't self-assess. It's just so important. So my colleague Emma Cook and I, we cover the western areas. Emma's in the north and I'm in the south, and Emma's actually working out of Winton this week. She's up there. So Emma and I, we work closely alongside QRIDA, so Bradley, Terry and Sam. And we also work very closely with the DPI teams in Longreach and Charleville. So we've got those connections and we've got it covered. We are fully mobile, so we can meet you in town, we can meet you on farm, we can work remotely, we can catch up with you at one of our pop-up offices that we've got planned across the region in the next couple of weeks. So on that, I will send the information to Vol and he can share it in the email for participants. And what we're planning on the week of the 28th of April, Emma's RFCS team will be with Bradley from QRIDA, and they'll be going to Junda, Stonehenge and Longreach. My team will be heading out to Quilpie, Arramanga and to Toonpine, and then we'll be heading across to Yulo and finishing up in Cunnamulla and back to Charleville, and we'll be with Terry Polsford from QRIDA in the south. We're also planning, Emma's planning trip to Windora, and my team will head down to Bargaminda soon. And we'll also be at Terry, Brad and I will be at Tambo Show, and we'll be going to the Blackall Show as well. So we're keen to sort of get out to the areas, let people know what assistance is available, and yeah, support. Just another thing, our team, our organisations, Emma's and ours, have a dedicated team of small business financial counsellors as well. So details for those and our road trips, we'll distribute those. Vol can do that for us, and we'll also post details about our road trips and our small business financial counselling services on the council or the council websites. We're finding that's a really good way to get information out to people at the moment. So I understand it's a challenging time, and there's been such an incredible and widespread loss in the region, and RFCS, we're ready, we're on the ground. I hope to remove some of the burden and help you with your recovery support applications and negotiations. And if you need the support, or you know someone that does, please just get in touch.
Great, Angie. Thank you for that overview, and thank you also for all your hard work and planning to help people. It's really appreciated in the regions, and we will include all those, the timetable of those events, and also links to information and contacts for the rural financial counsellors. Angie, quick one from me. Is it feasible for someone, say, who wants to come into Junda or Winton to bring a computer in and actually work through an application process, or are you're not going to be able to handle that kind of assistance?
We're hoping to. Like Emma's team will be at Junda. What we're planning on, like we've got set up a mobile, we'll have a Starlink, and we will have laptops where we can actually sit down and start to support people actually doing their applications right there with them, just to get it rolling. So it would be good if you could bring your laptop, but if we can get connection is the other thing. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, no, I get that. Thank you for planning for that. And I see Ross Leggett, thank you, Ross, has just posted, looks like Angie's and Emma's contact details in the chat. So they'll be in our post-webinar email as well. Thanks, Angie. I'm not seeing any questions in the chat or any hands up, so we might just move on. Part of the recovery process is the long, hard slog of looking after ourselves and each other. So Tim Driscoll has kindly agreed to speak to us about just that, mental health, mental wellness. Tim, are you there?
I am, Vol. Thanks for the introduction. Look, obviously, natural disasters like this one can have a quite a large impact on people's well-being. Obviously, is impacting whole communities, and it's obviously really natural for people to perhaps feel overwhelmed or anxious or exhausted, and sometimes even a bit numb. And these are all really, really normal responses to a natural disaster. They're, kind of expectable that, people are going to have different reactions, but we're certainly expecting there to be, some hit on people's well-being, and that's completely expectable. But the key thing we want to keep in mind is that we want to make sure that, if those things are lingering, we're actually, reaching out for support, and we're also keeping an eye out for each other, that we're, also encouraging others to look out for support if they're struggling after a natural disaster. And it's always hard to predict who's going to be, hit by some of these things. And sometimes it can be a bit delayed, it can be a few weeks or even months down the road, where someone sort of falls into a hole. So it's really important that we do really keep an eye out for each other. Often we jump into cleanup mode and you're on the road to recovery, but sometimes we forget about those things that actually keep us well and keep those people around us well. So some of the things that are so useful to focus on are just those basics. And sometimes what can happen when events like this happen is that those things that just keep us well day to day can go out the window. So even those basic pillars of well-being, like eating well, making sure you're getting enough sleep, making sure you're taking a break and catching up with friends. You can forget to do those things, and even though it can feel like those things are a little bit trivial in the face of a natural disaster, they're actually more important because they're the things that keep you well when you're under increased pressure. So it's really, really important to keep an eye on those basics. That's really, really key. And the other thing I'd say is, look, there's a lot of mental health support provided after a natural disaster. Most of it's not by professional services. Most of it's by people that are immediately around us. It's, our family, our friends, and the people that we work with. That's where most of that support actually comes from. So it's really important that, as we're kind of the first line of support for the people around us, it's really important that we also keep an eye out for other people, and looking for any sort of, signs that, they might be having a hard time. And what we look for there is often change, really. So you've got someone who might be, normally quite a calm, sort of really courteous person. They all of a sudden get quite snappy, or someone that's usually quite sort of calm. You might find them getting upset much more quickly. So some of those things that, that you've noticed that, you can see a change. Some of the other big ones to look out for are basic things like, sleep. Are people having trouble sleeping? Are they sleeping more? Are they off their food? Are they eating a heap more? Are they drinking more grog, smoking more? Those kind of things are really, good red flags to look out for. And the other thing I'd really encourage people to do is really pay attention to what you've noticed that's got you concerned about someone, and then point that out to someone. I mean, obviously, asking someone if they are okay. I mean, there's a whole campaign around that, and that's really, really important. But if you can add to that, I've noticed that you're not sleeping. Is everything okay? Often that'll open that conversation up, much further. So that's something I'd really, really recommend that people do when they're checking in with one another, is that they actually point out what's got them concerned about someone else. And look, you don't need to know all the answers, and you certainly don't need to be a mental health professional to support someone that's having a hard time, post the flooding. That's certainly not required. But if you can, listen to understand and make sure that that person knows that someone else is there with them by itself is so powerful. But also knowing that there's that additional backup. You can always, as already been mentioned tonight, Lifeline on 13 11 14 provides fantastic crisis support, and could also provide you advice on if you're concerned about someone else as well in a crisis situation. But also specifically to this disaster in Western Queensland currently, Western Queensland PHN is also providing support through Head to Health, which is 1800 595 212. And that service is specifically about linking people in with local supports in their area. So linking people in with the right supports where they live. And that's a really key one to know about. Lifeline always on 13 11 14, fantastic for crisis support. Call them any hour of the day. If someone's in crisis, they can absolutely guide you. But also Head to Health is a great resource for finding local support in your area, and that can be really, really useful. And the other thing I'd really recommend people do is, if you notice that your well-being's going downhill, don't wait. The deeper people get into that hole, the harder it is to get out. And sometimes something can start with something as simple as, having really trouble getting to sleep. And that can then sort of build into a much bigger problem. And if you imagine that you're not sleeping, you're harder to be around, your relationships suffer, it's harder to get through your day. But if you can get some help with that, we can really, cut it off at the base. So really getting in early is key. And I think something we've struggled with in rural Australia generally is that people wait a long time to get help, and that's going to the doctor and getting any sort of support often. But the longer you leave it, the longer it takes to get back out of the hole. So really, if you're concerned about someone or you notice your own well-being going downhill, make sure you get in early and get some support. So they're the key things that I really want to recommend to people, is that they focus on those basics that keep us well. Make sure you keep them up because they're more important than ever at the moment. Make sure that you're checking in on one another, and you're realizing that you don't need all the answers. There's those additional supports you can draw upon, and certainly make uses of them sooner rather than later, because if you wait, it just takes a lot longer to get out of the hole. So they're my key takeaways for tonight, Vol.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Tim, for those wise words, and we will include those helpline numbers in our email after the webinar. And if you get to a point where you can't find the email, you can't think of the numbers, chances are you'll have one of our numbers in your phone. Just ring one of us, because we've got ready access to all those numbers, and we're possibly in a better position to be able to find them than you. So please don't hesitate to call any one of us on the screen tonight. We're all here, most of us in the region, and happy to help. Thank you very much, Tim, for that. Great reminders and wonderful resources to have. I'm now going to go to our roads update. So critical to everyone's recovery is getting in and out, getting access to machinery on roads. And so it was Tony Rayner from Longreach who suggested we approach TMR. Thank you, Tony, for the suggestions. And thank you also to Gavin Hill and Bill Lansbury. And I believe Tony and Suzette are going to give us an update as well. So we're just going to start with, I think, with Gavin. Are you there, Gavin?
Yes, I am, Vol.
Thank you. So Gavin, you'll introduce yourself, no doubt, but go for it, mate.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Gavin Hill, District Director, Central West. So the State Control Road Network in the Central West has had a significant impact from rainfall and flooding, and we're into our 3rd+ week. So mostly the water has receded in our northern parts, so that most of our roads connecting to the north are now open or open to full drive. Past couple of days, Aramac Muttaburra and Winton Bullier Road have opened up, but of note, the Muttaburra Hewenden Road is still closed, and we've also got the Dawson Developmental Road between Springshaw and Tambo is still closed. The mainly significantly impacted areas of our district are the Lower Bullier Shire, Diamantina Shire and the Barcoo. So all roads into Diamantina Shire are closed due to flooding, and we're forecasting weeks before we've got access into there. Likewise for Barcoo, while the road between Longreach and Junda is open to all traffic, roads south of Junda are closed. It will be into next week before inspections occur of the Thompson River, but what we know of the Johnson channels on the road to Windora, there's multiple locations where the bitumen is lifted. So we've got quite a bit of repair work to happen. Likewise, in and around Windora, to the south of Junda, there's no access currently, and it will be weeks away before the Cooper Creek recedes, such that we can start inspecting that location. Inspections have commenced on the parts of our district that we are aware of, and emergency works have been completed, and we're forecasting for our future rectification works to occur. So the councils and Road Tech who manage the State Control Road Network in Central West have all been working very hard to make safe these roads, and even though some of them have been damaged enough that they haven't got bitumen on them, the ongoing repair and determination of that repair is occurring down the track. Can also, note, Barcoo Shire Council workforce has really been going flat out since the flood events occurred, and the disruption to their network. And it will be a long and large repair program that is to occur there. So patience, please, for that part of our network. Likewise, Dom and Tina. As always, refer to Queensland Traffic for website for the latest on-road openings. I'll throw it to Bill.
Thanks, Gavin. And yes, Bill Lansbury's also joined us. Bill has a statewide role, statewide road recovery, Bill. So over to you. You have some slides to share, Bill.
I do, thanks, Paul. I've just flashed them up. Like all good things, you're ready to go when your turn comes and the music changes and stops. But anyway, here we go.
Excellent.
Just get the share button going. And
thanks for that.
Probably just wanted to focus on the breadth and depth of the event from a TMR perspective. And certainly just under half of the state control network across the road has been impacted. Obviously, under the 25-0 event, they're all the shires that have been declared, and I've got emergent event activities being undertaken within them of varying shapes and sizes, depending upon where you are in the state. The focus is really on the central west, southwest area, though, in this particular case. And if I keep clicking, something's going to happen here. There we go. So, as Gav mentioned, we use Queensland Traffic as
Can't see your slides yet, Bill. Are you?
Yeah, probably quick draw there. Then hang on. Like all good things, right? The machine wants to do what it wants to do.
That's right. Yes. No hurry, Bill.
It's probably because it's Wednesday, I'd say, Vol, or something like that. Let's go. Try again and smile.
Perfect. Something is sharing. We can see your slide edit view now. If you just want to click your slideshow button, that should be all good. But if not, then we can still see the slide as you go through.
Okay, so that was the 25-0 event. In terms of Queensland Traffic, obviously all of the roads across the network, including local government roads, are included in Queensland Traffic to varying degrees. We administer the Queensland Transport and Main Roads, State Control Road Network, obviously, and council play their part. And let me say the wonderful contributions that the shires have made during this particular event. I've thrown in the New South Wales things. We've started to get a number of calls from interstate around access, particularly into southwest Queensland and through route to Mount Isa and Darwin and whatever. And obviously, there's a number of roads still closed in northern New South Wales due to flooding. And as the water continues southward, that'll continue. In a similar way, South Australia, all those key routes onto the border country are all obviously closed, and no real surprise there from a water and flooding perspective. Unknown what damage or whatever will be there as yet. But certainly from a southern point of view, Mitchell Highway, Barrangun to Cunnamulla is, I think this afternoon, Mayor Beresford might confirm. I think we're just about ready to open that, but you can only get to the border anyway for the moment. So don't know how many people want to go much further. Mitchell Highway between Cunnamulla and Charleville, just north of Wyandra, we've got a load limit there. We're monitoring a temporary piece of work about 10-15k north of Wyandra at the moment to see how it's standing up, and that might change over the next few days, and that might be opened up a little bit wider. Those other roads, to a lesser degree, are still closed. A Bully developmental on the east side of Thargomindah is obviously a key one. We're hoping that by Monday that will have changed sufficiently for our bridge inspectors to get in, check out the culvert and the bridges there, and allow direct access to Thargo. At the moment, the access is around by Eromanga, Kai into Thargo. So that'll save a fair few kilometres for those travelling into that neck of the woods. Plenty of damage, and a couple of photos there of various sections, and there's particularly shoulder washouts, and I think Barcoo Shire and a few others in Central West have had similar issues. They're the things that are currently being worked on to improve, particularly for the Easter Anzac weekend as best we can, to remove some of the worst sections there. Thanks to Quilpie Shire in particular for a fair bit of the work that they're doing in that neck of the woods on the Quilpie Windora, not unlike the work that Paru, Bulu and Murweh shires have been doing on various bits of the network as well, trying to get things recovered as best we can. That is the picture of the section by Andrew on the Mitchell Highway. Just a temporary arrangement we've got there as an interim. And like all things, social media is playing a part, and there's plenty of activity there. So probably just in summary, Queensland Traffic is the place for the news from a TMR perspective. And again, thanks to the contributions from all of the partners to enable the traffic that's been on the network over the last 3 or 4 weeks for fodder and for our gas and other emergent resupply. Roads do play a vital part, and we're happy to be partnering with everyone to enable that to occur. Thanks, Bob.
Good on you, Bill. Thank you for that, and Gavin as well. And thank you to your department for all the efforts and the many hundreds of Ks your teams are putting into first of all check and work on these roads and the shires as well. Great overview. Thank you. We've all been looking carefully and frequently at the Queensland Traffic website, and we won't stop doing that. Just on roads, we also have Tanya Rayner, Mayor of Longreach and Chair of RAPAD, and Suzette Beresford, Mayor of Paru and Chair of the Southwest Queensland Rock Roads Group. So, Tony, I see you in the list. Are you there and hearing us okay?
Yeah, got you loud and clear. Thanks, Vol, and thank you for your facilitation tonight. I've got Deputy Mayor Leonie Nunn with me. Just before I talk about roads, Vol, I'm sure that I can speak on behalf of all of the Western Queensland mayors to say that for any of the QRA staff or QRIDA or Graeme Bolton's DPI staff, if they're wanting access to an office where there is not an office of their own, please just contact the local council and we'll be more than happy to make office space available for those people that are doing the road runs. Just on roads, Gavin covered it well for the state roads. It's a similar story for local government roads, Vol. We're out doing emergent work at the moment. All of us are trying to have those roads in a trafficable state. Obviously, as Gavin said, be patient. It's a mammoth job right across Western and Southwest Queensland. But we do have graders operating 7 days a week and wheel loaders at the moment, doing a great job. And just for Ag Force and non-Ag Force members, please, if you've got a concern, just contact your local mayor or CEO and we'll get onto it as quickly as we can. But pretty well, that's all I wanted to mention, Vol. I think the rest has been covered well, but we're all available to deal with priority roads as they pop up.
Thank you, Tony, and thanks for the huge effort over the last 3 weeks. Yourself and the other mayors, everybody's been working very, very long hours, and we all greatly appreciate it. Suzette, you're online, I know. Can you hear me okay? And would you like to give us an update on Southwest Queensland Rock Road situation?
Thank you, Vol, and good evening, everyone. So the shires in our Southwest Regional Roads and Transport Group are the 6 of Quilpie, Bulu, Paru, Murweh, Maranoa and Bolton. And there probably will be some road damage in Bolton and maybe Maranoa, but the significant amount of damage is probably in the 4 shires of Quilpie, Bulu, Paru and Murweh. And the total length of road in those shires is just over 12,000 kilometres, the majority of which are unsealed. There's also a bit over 2,500 kilometres of TMR roads. Now, the cost of damage to the flood-affected roads is, of course, yet to be ascertained, but initial estimates for the Bulu Shire is between $80 and $100 million, and for the Quilpie Shire, it's also $80 million. These estimates are still to be obtained for Paru and Murweh. However, the unsealed shire roads are starting to reopen. I think we've got about 5 open now, and that'll enable the collection of the flood damage data for submission to QRA. The Paru Shire may have received damage in the vicinity of 40 to 50 million. So there's overall extensive damage to the Southwest Road network, and there will need to be emergent works carried out to provide access for the recovery process to proceed as rural producers and small businesses and the other industries, and including tourism, slowly resume operations. So due to the length of time needed to meet the REPA requirements and the process that's involved in respect of roads, it may be next year before that that flood damage repairs, permanent repairs, I suppose, to our road network really start to commence.
Thank you, Suzette, and also thank you to you for all the hard work. That's a great overview of the regional roads, and it's a huge moving picture, changing every day. So greatly appreciate the update. I'm not seeing any questions popping up on roads, so thank you very much to Gavin and Bill, Tony and Suzette for that overview. The road situation is incredibly important to people. We're going to be almost there, I think. I just want to quickly circle back to Sheree from QRIDA. Sheree, is there anything else that you wanted to add about upcoming events, or was that pretty much covered in Angie's overview?
Yeah, no, I think Angie covered it off perfectly.
Perfect, rightio. In that case, we're all.
The only thing I was going to add is there will probably be more, and you'll probably see us, you know, like this first one is in a couple of weeks, and then maybe a month after that we'll do, you know, follow-ups and more one-on-ones and things like that. So, and the other thing is just contact us, and we can do one-on-ones through Teams as well. My team can do that. We have the ability to do that with you.
Fantastic, Sheree. Thank you for that. And to everybody who's joined online tonight, who are out there in the flooded areas, our hearts go out to you all. We really feel for you, and we hope that this information has been helpful to you. If you tell us it's useful, we'll do this again. We're more than happy to run as many of these sorts of online events as would be useful for you. So please pick up the phone, let us know, send us an email. Thank you once again to all our speakers for being available. Stuart, Graeme, Sheree, Angie, Tim, Gavin, Bill, Tony and Suzette, thanks for your time and effort and ongoing struggles with this big event. We will circulate after the webinar the link to the recording, an information package with all the numbers that have been run past you tonight, and the links for application forms and online information sites. I think that's probably all from us. So in the absence of any more questions, thank you all for joining. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thanks, Mom.
Thanks very much, Bill.